Husky Game Prep is brought to you by Gate City Bank, proud supporter of your Huskies. Stop by and ask us about our low interest rates to finally buy that new snowmobile or ice house you've been waiting for. Contact any of our 43 locations across North Dakota and central Minnesota, and of course around the St. Cloud area. Gate City Bank, for a better way of life. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Huskies Game Prep, brought to you by Gate City Bank. Sam Getzinger here with you, and joining us once again, a very special friend to us. It's Mick Hatton from therinklive.com. Mick, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Sam?
I'm doing pretty good. And of course, let's talk about the last weekend for SCSU. They were on the road over in Kalamazoo taking on Western Michigan. Wasn't quite the weekend that they were hoping for. Game one saw a 6-2 loss to the Broncos, and game two saw a 3-1 loss. So the Huskies, who have been on fire for a good portion of the season, come away were swept by Western Michigan, a team that they've struggled with so far this season and historically. I want to get your thoughts on this weekend.
For the last two seasons, they've struggled with Western Michigan for whatever reason. Before that, I mean, they'd had a ton of success against Western Michigan. Not exactly sure. Last season, Western Michigan was one of the top, 4 teams in the NCHC, and they really had kind of a veteran-laden lineup and a wide. I thought they were a very deep team. Typically teams that are finishing in the top 4 in the NCHC are teams that have veterans and are deep. And that was definitely Western Michigan last season. They're a younger team this season, but they seem to be playing better here in the last few weeks. They had a shootout win and a straight up win over Miami the weekend before they saw St. Cloud State. And then, they took St. Cloud State out of what they wanted to do. In the first game of the series, St. Cloud State was playing pretty well, I thought, early on in that game, and then they had a kind of a bad transition situation. They got caught in some bad coverage. Western got ahead, and they never really trailed in that game. They didn't trail really all weekend against St. Cloud State, and we had talked about that, I think, a little bit before. That one of the good parts of St. Cloud State is that they've been able to kind of battle through trailing against teams. Here they got into a situation where it finally bit them. They played from behind all weekend, and Western Michigan just did not let them ever get any breathing room. They got back within on the second game of the series. They got back within 2-1, and you thought that they were right there, but they just they could not find the equalizer. I thought they played a much better game overall on Saturday, but they just couldn't find a way. And now you're wondering a little bit about St. Cloud State's offense, right? I mean, 3 goals in that series. They only had the 1 goal in the overtime win over Minnesota Duluth. So we're looking at 4 goals in their last 3 games, and so that'll be something, I guess, that'll be big this weekend. And it's not going to be an easy task against Miami. Miami's got some really good goaltending, and they've been playing better of late.
Yeah, we'll touch on that Miami series in just a moment, but I want to circle back to Western Michigan. Of course, this is a team that's been very shaky so far this season. They were in the bubble. They started off strong against St. Cloud State and then really fell off after they lost their starting goaltender. But you mentioned it, St. Cloud State has struggled with them for the past 2 seasons. But to go a little bit more in depth with it, what has Western Michigan done so well to contain the Huskies that have done so well this season, especially against some top-tier opponents?
I think they did. They're a team that wants to take away the tempo game from them. They kept St. Cloud State. When you look at they're playing the neutral zone, and they were able to get the puck out of their own zone. I think that was one of the big things, was that St. Cloud State likes to play with a lot of pressure on defenses and play kind of below the face-off dots, and they just didn't allow them to, to ever really get there. I mean, Western Michigan's doing a better job of getting the puck out of their own zone. And they've kind of changed their lines up a little bit. So, there's some veteran, a lot of their veteran guys are kind of come together. Josh Passolt, Washi, Ethan Frank. I mean, and those guys make up a pretty good power play unit, and that's another area, I guess, that, Western did a good job of, was on special teams, and they stayed out of the box. St. Cloud State did not get a lot of opportunities on the power play. So that didn't go their way. I mean, it's just one of those things where you start throwing the whole thing together and give Western Michigan a ton of credit. I mean, they went in there, and it wasn't a fluke that they won those two games. Western Michigan played very well against St. Cloud State.
Yes, they did. And again, those scores 6-2 and 3-1, not the games that St. Cloud State wanted coming out of Kalamazoo, but can you pinpoint any positives for St. Cloud State that they can take away from this past weekend?
I thought, like I was saying, in the second game, I just thought their overall effort was a little bit better. I thought they kind of came and went, in the first game of the series, where there just wasn't that consistency that they had been playing with. I thought they were a much more consistent team on Saturday. And that was a good sign for them. And, they outshot Western Michigan. I mean, they didn't even get shots on goal in the first game. I think they only had 20 or 21 shots or something like that in the first game of that series. They're typically a team, 29, 35 shots on goal is pretty typical for St. Cloud State. They had 29 shots on Saturday. They outshot them. I thought they had, more chances. They hit a couple of posts. I mean, there were opportunities there. They didn't finish a few things off. And like I said, they were playing from behind. Eventually that gets to be a lot of work, particularly in the second game of a series. If you've been playing behind all weekend, that's a lot of effort, and it wears on you mentally. And so we'll see if they can play with the lead this weekend. They need to.
Yeah, let's touch on this weekend. Western Michigan in the past, Miami, the Red Hawks come into town. The Huskies return to the Hoopworks National Hockey Center. Mick, give me your preview of this matchup between Miami and St. Cloud State.
Well, Miami is a team that, when they started out this season, there were a lot of question marks with them, particularly, in goal, who's going to play goal? Were they going to, were they going to split time? What was going to go on there? And really that's kind of how the season started off with, Ben Cross and Ludwig Persson ended up splitting time right down the middle pretty much to start with. And then Persson just got really hot, in the pod, and is kind of taken over as the, number one goalie for them. You look at his numbers and, a .951 save percentage. That is a ridiculous, that's just a flat out ridiculous number. He's a guy, a very athletic goalie, maybe not quite as, maybe a little bit unorthodox, maybe a little bit more like, maybe like a Dominic Hasek or something like that, where he's going to move around a little bit, but a very athletic kid and really competes. And so that's going to be the big test for St. Cloud State is, can they get to the net and can they finish some things off against Miami in this series? Miami's not a team that, is going to do a whole lot on the power play. They're at 13% on the power play. So, St. Cloud State's got to win the special teams battle. That's always big, obviously, but, if you're dealing with a team that's got a really good goaltender, if you get on the power play, you better make that, you better make hay there in order to kind of make up for, not getting as many opportunities as you would during the 5-on-5 play. So, that's I think the thing that strikes you the most about Miami is just how good their goaltending has been when it was such a big question mark going into this season.
Yeah, it should be a very fun season for our series. Friday, Saturday are the days for those. It's a 7:37 start on Friday and a 6:07 start on Saturday. Both those games can be seen on Fox 9 Plus. Mick, thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to check out therinklive.com for all your college hockey news, and we'll see you again next week.
Hey, thanks so much, Sam. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it. Coming up next on Husky Game Prep, we'll talk with head coach of the SCSU men's basketball team, Matt Reimer.
Huskies fans, reminder that Huskies Game Prep is brought to you by Gate City Bank, proud supporter of SCSU Athletics. Gate City Bank, for a better way of life. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Hello and welcome back into Husky Game Prep. Sam Getzinger along with you, and joining us now, head coach of the SCSU men's basketball team, Matt Reimer. Coach, thank you so much for taking some time and joining us here today on the show. And you're coming off a very big weekend against Minot State. Game one saw a very fun matchup, 80-78 win. Ryan Bagley puts it away with 3 seconds left, and you were playing from behind a little bit in the first half, and then you pulled away a little bit, and it came down to the wire, that's for sure. And then game two, it was a very fun matchup again, 90-74 win against the Beavers in their first taste of NSIC North action. So I want to get your thoughts on this past weekend against Minot State.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. I think as coaches, what probably pleased us as much as anything this weekend is we've won two kind of different ways. On Saturday, our post guys were struggling on both ends of the floor, and we weren't getting a lot of production from them either way. So we kind of made the point in the second half to go with 5 guards and caused us to switch everything on the defensive end and trap in the post, and we trapped some ball screens, and our guys adjusted to that really, really well. Offensively, we just kind of went to a simple 5-out motion and exploited the mismatches. And the biggest one was their post kids were trying to guard Anthony, and Anthony, just obliterated them off the bounce. And we got a lot of easy layups. Now, that's not sustainable over the course of the year, but for one day, it worked really well for us. And then I thought Sunday we were more traditional. We hit shots. Saturday we did not shoot the ball well at all. Sunday we shot it extremely well, and we didn't have to, do anything tinkering with our defense or our offense. We were just kind of traditional and just kind of knocked down a lot of shots and really got after them and stretched it out to 30 at one point before they kind of made a little run at the end with our subs on the floor. But two different ways of winning, but I was really proud that we were able to do that and had the flexibility to do both ways.
And one thing that really stood out and was rather interesting in game one of that series against Minot State, the bigger guys on your squad just weren't really getting it done. So you went to 5 guards out on the floor. And was that something on the fly, or was that something that you were thinking about earlier this week? I know you've done that a little bit earlier this season, but what was that thought process like?
Yeah, it's not something that we, try to plan on doing, or we don't practice it very much, but it was something that we had done a couple times earlier in the season, so we thought that we were going to try it, and I'd never dreamed that we'd go with it as long as we did, but it was successful pretty much the entire second half. And I think we came from down 4 to up 8 over that course of time, and had we not made a few mistakes at the end and they took advantage of them to tie it, I think we could have won that thing comfortably going away. But they did a good job of exploiting our mistakes at the end. But it's not sustainable over the course of the season, or necessarily even over the course of a game, but certainly it gives you the flexibility to do that every now and then if you guys are in foul trouble, or if they're just having a tough time, give them a chance to regroup and catch their breath and then go back out there and play.
And Coach, you got a couple series underneath your belt so far in this rather interesting season. Who are some players that have really stood out to you so far?
Well, Ryan Bagley's been a big lift for us. Bags missed more practice than anybody because of COVID issues. First, he was quarantined because his roommate had it. Then he had it. He was also sick for a week and a half. And so he missed a lot of time this fall. And for a new guy, that's never a good thing. And so he's just kind of now getting his feet underneath him, getting used to our system, and certainly is producing at a high level. And that allows us to move Caleb off the ball and get Caleb out in transition where he's at his best. And I think Baggs' ability to push the ball up the floor is as good as anybody we've had in a long time, and get guys like Anthony Roberts and Caleb in transition out in space. And those are two of the better athletes you're going to find in the league. And certainly when they're out in space, I don't think there's too many guys that are going to stop them. And so we've done a really good job of using those 3 guys. Ilya has played well up to now, and hopefully he can continue that as a senior. And then we just need consistency from the other guys. The other guys have all had moments, but we need consistency from them so that we know every night we can know what to expect.
Yeah, all those players you just mentioned played phenomenally against Minot State in those 2 wins this past weekend. Now that's in the past. Let's look forward to this upcoming weekend. The Huskies take on Northern State. Give us your scouting report on Northern State, and what are some things you're going to work on in practice leading up to that series?
Yeah, they're really good. They're number 2 in the country. They're 6-0, and they got 4 starters back from their team that won the league a year ago. And it starts with Parker Fox, their All-American center. And as good as our 2 athletes are, he's the best athlete in the league. And he'll probably be Conference Player of the Year as long as he stays healthy and stuff. But he's just a really tough matchup at 6'8". He's really bouncy. He can put the ball on the floor. He's got good moves down in the post if he gets it down there. And he affects the floor on the defensive end because he blocks a ton of shots. And he's very good at blocking them and keeping it in bounds so that they can get runouts from it. Then they have 3 guards that just shoot it really, really well at 40+, and a point guard who's really dynamic off the bounce and really guards well. So their starting 5, they have no holes, no weaknesses, and they have a couple solid kids that they bring off the bench. So it's the type of team that we're going to have to beat. We talk about as coaches, more games are lost than are won. Well, they don't lose games. You have to go out and beat them, and that's really hard to do. And we're going to have to play error-free basketball if we're going to have a chance this weekend.
It should be a very fun series. Best of luck to you, Coach. Huskies take on Northern State, and hopefully we'll talk to you again next week with 2 more wins.
Appreciate it, Sammy. Thank you.